Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Leible, and this is my presentation on the effects of colonialism in Islamic Afghanistan. Now, I briefly just want to highlight four conquerors of Afghanistan as a territory, even before it was a nation of its own. The first of which, pictured in the top left, is Darius I of Babylonia, otherwise known as Darius the Great, and he ruled Afghanistan around the year 500 BC. Pictured in the bottom left, we have Alexander the Great, who ruled the territory around the year 329 BC. Pictured in the top right, we have Mahmud of Ghazni, who ruled around the year 1001 AD. Now, this is significant because this is after the foundation of Islam as a religion, which of course was founded in the 7th century. Under Mahmud's rule, we see Islam really flourish and root itself in the Afghanistan territory. Finally, worth mentioning is Genghis Khan, who conquered the lands in the 13th century around the year 1219. Further along the timeline, we come to the year 1772, and here we see Afghanistan really come together as a nation and not just a territory. Under the rule of Ahmad Shah Durrani, who was a Sunni Muslim, we see what was known as the Durrani Empire, the Sardarzai Kingdom, or the Afghan Empire, which is pictured in the top left. While this looks very different from what is pictured in the middle, or current-day Afghanistan, Ahmad Shah Durrani is still considered the founder of the modern state of Afghanistan, and is even honored today by the current Crown Prince. The current Crown Prince of Afghanistan is, of course, Ahmad Shah Khan. Now, moving further along, in the year 1839, we have Afghanistan pictured there in the top right, and this is significant because this is the start to the British-Afghan Wars. There were three wars, the first of which lasted from 1838 to 1842 and is pictured in the top left. The second, pictured in the top right, lasted from 1878 to 1880. And finally, photographed in the bottom, was the final war, which lasted from 1919 to 1921. On the coattails of World War I, and with a weakened British force, the Afghanistan armies were able to win independence in 1921 and become its own nation. And with this newfound independence came an era of progress. In 1934, the United States recognized Afghanistan as its own independent state, and in 1947, Britain withdraws from India, which is a neighboring country from Afghanistan. Now, in 1953, pictured in the right, Mohammed Daud Khan rose to power as prime minister. Daud Khan issued social reforms such as in 1957, where he allowed women the right to attend college and university and to join the workforce. In 1973, Daud Khan's political party, the People's Democratic Republic Party of Afghanistan, changed Afghanistan from a monarchy to a presidency, and Daud Khan became the first president of Afghanistan. In 1977, he pushed for new constitution and more civil rights of women, which led a kind of extremist group to grow more opposed to his rulings as he grew in power, and he kind of wanted to reform what Afghanistan used to be. So this new group, the Afghan Communist Party, actually assassinated Daud Khan in 1978 and used a coup d'etat to put Nur Muhammad Taraki as the new ruler of Afghanistan. Now, with the rise to power of this Communist Party came further Soviet Union intervention. And this is much the same as nations like Vietnam or Korea, where we see foreign countries coming in and trying to influence their beliefs on a populace that may not necessarily agree to them. Now this might not be considered traditional colonialism, much the same as the British-Afghan wars were. I think it is one and the same as I mentioned, it's a foreign nation coming in trying to influence ideas on people who do not agree with those ideas. Now, the formation of this extremist groups led to the formation of others. Extremist groups such as the Taliban, later ISIS, and here pictured Al-Qaeda. In the bottom we have pictured Osama bin Laden, and top right, Ayman al-Zawahiri. And these extremist groups would not exist without the colonialization of Afghanistan. If the Soviet Union never backed the Communist Party, it would have easily been overthrown by the will of the people, and Afghanistan would have leveled out into just gone back to a democracy and a republic. But when we have foreign states trying to push their agenda, much like the Soviet Union, like Britain was doing in the 17 and 1800s, and even the United States. The United States was funding rebels under the Reagan administration to try and combat the Soviet Union. And again, this is in line with what's already happened in Afghanistan, what's happened in Vietnam and Korea, where you see formation of extremist groups that do not reflect the will of the populace and the general idea, that of which being conservative and traditional Muslim values in Afghanistan. But we see these warring polar opposites, extremist groups that are doing nothing but good for the nation, and these are direct results of colonialism. So, kind of just to sum up the net effects of colonization, I find it easiest to sum up, I guess, three big factors, that being nationalism with extremist groups like Al Qaeda, the power vacuum done by groups like the Communist Party in their coup d'etat, and many others just seizing power and assassinating those of which they don't, I guess, don't agree with. And then militarism with the Soviet Union and the United States giving weapons and sending troops over and into it. And all these factors really end up adding up to equaling the degradation of traditional Islamic beliefs. Now, of course, there are other results. Of course, there's been wars, the refugee crisis, but I feel like the unsung effect, and the one I kind of want to hammer home here, is that Islam, as the religion that it is being misrepresented. And when you have groups that, extremist groups like Al Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS, that are doing these awful, horrible acts, terrorist acts, really, in the name of Islam, it's really a defamation of the religion as it is. And that's why we see the refugees fleeing, because these are true Muslims who do not believe anything close to what people like Osama bin Laden believe. But this is a result of the colonization and the extremist groups that are able to rise to power when we have warring countries like the United States and the Soviet Union coming in and propping up false leaders and giving them too much power. So I guess to kind of really sum up, that the net effect of colonization on Islam in Afghanistan is that it has become a watered down, extreme kind of misrepresentation of what it used to be. And that's all I have. Thank you for watching.